Hi everyone, I'm Jackie Fernandez with The Word, and this is part 2 of my series with John Liu. As a pledged delegate to Clinton, who are you going to vote for in the roll call tonight?
I'm going to vote for Barack Obama like Hillary Clinton is going to.
And can you comment on the delegates who left after Clinton gave her speech, and on the delegates who plan to leave after Bill gives his speech tonight?
This is a convention. There are going to be people who are upset and disappointed that the candidate they were backing from the beginning did not make it to the end. That happens with every primary. And so, for some reason, I think to some extent, Hillary and also Barack Obama, they're both being held to a higher standard. It may be a little bit unfair. It's probably due to them being such historic candidates that things get magnified. But I don't think there's anything to be made of it. Of course some people are going to leave. They always do.
Well, on Monday you said that you plan to run for citywide election. So what will be your
What does that have to
focus?
do with the Democratic National Convention?
We're switching over to New York. We are switching
Democratic
over to
National
New York now.
Convention. I'm so happy to be here in Denver, Colorado, Jackie.
I know,
It's a beautiful
but
town here. We're here outside the APIA caucus
I know, but it's almost
discussing
over.
issues of the Democratic National Platform. Tonight, we're going to be at Pepsi Center. Tomorrow, you have tickets for Invesco? Oh, you got credentials.
Right,
so
yeah.
you're taken care of. So the 2008 elections are going to be, we're reaching the milestone right now at the conclusion of the Democratic National Convention, and 2 months from now, in the next 2 months, we'll all be battling to get our candidate, whether it be Democratic, which I hope, or Republican, elected President of the United States of America.
Right. Okay, so one of the issues about this election is the economy.
Yes.
And Governor Patterson's state budgets have severely cut funds from CUNY and Medicaid. So what is your opinion on that?
It's awful.
Right.
It's awful whenever the economy goes on a decline. And unfortunately, over the past several years, there has not been enough budget tightening, budget belt tightening. And so Governor Patterson is stuck with the very difficult position of having to trim the budget just to keep things balanced and afloat. There will be more tough choices that will have to be made at the state level and probably at the city level as well. You can't spend more money than you have.
Right.
But I think that wherever possible, we should find the money to cut from other parts of the budget and not stick it to the students.
Right. Well, your fellow city council member, Charles Barron, his response was, and I quote, "Racism is in the budget." So what is your response to that?
Charles is a very charming fellow, and he has very strong views. The budget is not. The budget is a document that is ratified by a legislative body, signed by the executive, and a great deal of discussion goes on.
Okay, so you serve on the Committee of Education. How do you plan to fix the discrepancy of Asian American studies in the CUNY education system?
Well, what you're talking about would be something taken care of by the Department of Higher Education. And Asian American Studies is absolutely a necessary component of higher education, both in CUNY and in the rest of our college and university system. We still need to get more Asian American Studies programs developed. In Queens, we have Queens College, which has a very strong Asian American center, as well as it does house the Asian American Asian Research Institute. At Hunter College, we have a strong foreign languages program that helps develop the skills of New Yorkers and our future workforce. In other campuses, there's more of a growing component for Asian American studies. That's not necessarily a budgetary issue. I mean, obviously it does require money, but in the grand scheme of things, it's not a huge amount. It requires that students and faculties work together to get those programs up on their campuses.
Right, well, for example, like you just mentioned Hunter College, the administration says there's no money in the budget for Asian American studies, or to help make it a real program.
Well, then let's get everybody to work together to make sure that we get higher up on the list of priorities. Part of the difficulty that I've heard, but is I would find it hard to believe that it was true, is that sometimes these programs get set up and the registrations for these programs are not as high as you would imagine. So I'm trying to investigate to see if that in fact is true, because I don't think it could be true. But if it is true, then we also have to work on that and make sure that not only do we fight for these programs, but that there's going to be enough registration in these classes and to some extent degrees.
Right. So when you campaign for re-election, how do you plan to appeal to young Asian American voters, and what are you going to promise them?
I want all voters. I want all the young voters, Asian, Latino, African American, white, everybody. And you know what? I even want the old voters too.
Right.
But for young voters, it is important to boost their participation rates. Young people have a great deal to offer in terms of opinions, hard work, and energy level. And our democracy is well served by more young people participating. And I think Senator Obama has achieved a great thing in this presidential election and really motivating young people to get involved in every way, to register to vote, to organize rallies, even to make campaign contributions. So young people have a great deal, a great stake in the future, and we need the young people to get involved.
And how are you going to appeal to the different Asian American communities, like the South Asian community?
We have to appeal to every community that exists in New York City. The Asian American community is growing very rapidly. It is not a homogeneous community. We have East Asians, we have South Asians, we have people who speak different languages, we have people who practice different religions. So at the end of the day, I don't think the Asian American community is all that different from the rest of New York. There are some issues in terms of we need to be respected and understood, and that comes from gaining a stronger voice in government and having more influence in all sectors of society. But we just need people to participate more and more. And I don't think the issues are different for Asian Americans as they are for other people. There are some issues that we care about a lot more, such as inclusion and empowerment. But empowerment is not, it is hopefully a temporary issue. Schools, housing, economic opportunity, those are all issues that have to be worked on constantly.
Obama's campaign has really utilized technology. So when you campaign for election, how are you going to utilize new forms of technology?
Well, you know what you're doing right now, and new outlets like New American Media, it's all about getting more information out there. Getting information to people in a format that they prefer. A lot of people still prefer picking up paper that makes your fingers all black. Some people don't like that anymore. Some people like to move mouses around and do a lot of clicking. So whatever way we can get information, it's not about exactly what the media is, it's about understanding the main goal is to get information out to people.
Right. If you're re-elected, how do you plan to raise the political status of Asian Americans in New York City?
Well, I'm not running for re-election, but we will always work towards, and I will certainly, it's always been my priority to raise the profile of our growing community, a community that has been in New York for more than 150 years, and still to some extent is little understood and little included.
In New York City, we see gentrification not only in Chinatown, but in Harlem and other communities of color. So how do you plan to align yourself with other city council members or other leaders of color to combat this?
Affordable housing is a critical issue. People who made New York great and people who made the respective communities great and desirable are being priced out themselves. And so it's about having a comprehensive plan to create more affordable housing through the use of zoning techniques, public-private partnerships. There are ways to make sure that affordable housing gets built. there has just not, unfortunately, been enough focus on it.
Okay.